Hello and welcome, everybody. Looks like we got 2 or 3 people that are joining us. Do me a huge favor and just put where you're from in the comments. We want to know how far this stream is going. We want to know who's here. So if you could just leave a note in the comments where you're joining us from. Looks like we got Les joining us from Cleveland. Good morning, Les. Hope you're doing well, my friend. Richard is joining us, another Michigan guy. Hope Michigan is doing well for you. Hope you've gotten out there and done some shooting recently. Put that Olympus to work. I'm seeing like 15 people, so there's got to be some other people here. So let me know where you're from. We want to know where you're from, and we'll throw a highlight up on the screen. My friend and comrade, who looks a little bit younger in that photo, Eeyore, he will be monitoring the live chat and helping with the most technical of questions. Good morning, Eeyore. Jim's joining us. I feel like he is going to be the president of the TJ Houston Noon live stream fan club pretty soon. He's here every day, and I appreciate it. Thank you, Jim. Thanks for joining. Who else do we got here? Oh, man. Look what the cat drug in. We've got our friendly Fujifilm tech rep, Christopher Gilbert, joining us from Columbus. Actually, he's yelling, "Hi, friends from Columbus." It's in all caps. We have to yell. Looks like Nick is joining us from somewhere in Ohio. He is in hiding. He's probably in like one of those underground barracks. He's hiding. It's just somewhere in Ohio. You guys are in for a treat today. My friend Bryan Minear, he's going to be sharing, he's going to be dropping knowledge on us, guys. He's going to be dropping landscape and just photography and general knowledge. So he is here. He is joining us. He's in the wings, if you will, in the green room, waiting to come out. Looks like we have Sue joining us from sunny Florida. I hope things are well down there in sunny Florida. Thank you for joining. Kisses from Chris. Kisses coming from Chris. Jackie from Vermilion. Good morning. Good morning. Close to the lake. I haven't been up to Vermilion in a little bit. Hopefully once it gets warmer, hit up the docks and the Quaker Steak and Lube. This one goes out to Brian from Richard. He says, "Hello, Brian." Looks like Brian is in the comments as well. He is joining us. So if there are any questions, you will have his connection to be able to reach out and get all your questions answered. And our happy dog is done counting down for us. I will now grace you with my presence. Hello, good morning, good morning, good morning. I have been waiting all weekend for this live stream. Our guest today is a really good friend of mine. We met, at a camera store like 2 or 3 years ago, and we've kept in contact, bounced ideas off of each other. He has an awesome podcast that he started. He's doing a lot of things, and he is such an inspiration. The creativity, it just oozes out of him, whether it's in audio, whether it's in video, whether it's in photo. And it's always to this level. It is always nothing but the best. And he doesn't do anything halfway on absolutely anything. He is a true consummate professional and a really good friend. So I can't wait to share and have a conversation with our friend Bryan Minear. But I am going to first go over some housekeeping items. So getting started, I wanted to let you know that Eeyore will be monitoring the chat for us. So if there are any questions specific to any gear or anything like that, if we have something, if you need a price on something, anything like that, we'll be able to answer those questions for you. We are still open at the store. So if you do need anything, so let's say Bryan talks about a certain filter or, some piece of gear that you might be thinking about picking up, we are open. So if there are any questions about that you need gear or is it in stock, let us know. We'll look, and we are open from 1 to 5 every day but Sunday. So we are still open, or you can get it shipped to you. I mean, you just FedEx comes, drops it off at your house. If you do in-store pickup, it's actually curbside pickup. So you just pull up, pop your trunk, we put your goods in there. We keep our full-size llama distance between us, and we make sure everybody stays safe. So if you do need anything, please let us know. We'll be happy to help. Also, let us know if there is a live stream that you want us to add. So we're constantly adding more and more content to this, especially as things get extended during the pandemic. So we're looking for ideas. So if you have any ideas, please let me know, because I want to be able to provide that content for you. And again, if this is your first time here, welcome. We do this every day at noon. It's kind of our little lunch and learn, if you will. We hang out, we talk photography. So I wanted to let you know about the PPA, the Professional Photographers of America, has opened up all of their online content to all photographers. So you don't even have to be a member. There are classes on business. There's classes on landscape, portrait. There's a little bit of everything in there. And this is something that would normally cost you the cost of the membership. So like almost $400. And that is now open to everybody. And they extended it through April. So if you're looking for more online content that won't cost you a dime, check out the PPA's website. I have the link in the slide there, but you could just do a Google search for PPA and In It Together, and you'll get access to all that online content. And when I first started my career, I watched all of the PhotoVision videos. I just ate it all up, and it gave me so many good ideas for my business and just my photography in general. So what are our goals for today? So the goals for today, number one, the most important goal that I have for you is to get rid of the FUD, the fear, uncertainty, and doubt, even if it's only for a minute. Just a minute. Just get your mind out of what's going on and, all the, the coronavirus, and that's what we're so consumed by. I want to pull you out of that just for an hour and remind you that you have this hobby that you absolutely love. Photography. And photography is such a great tool because it pulls us away in those times where there's a lot of negativity going on in the world and a lot of, we don't know what tomorrow's going to hold. My goal is to pull you away from that. Just hang out, talk photography, and then hopefully inspire you to do something new. Number two is to get you motivated to try something outside of your comfort zone. There's hundreds of quotes that talk about that's where the growth really happens, is when you get outside of your comfort zone. So let's say you always photograph people. That's very difficult to do right now. So that's why, with Bryan coming in, it's a perfect time because he can talk a little bit about landscapes, and maybe you've never done landscapes before. Now it'll give you that push to try something new, to get out there and maybe see something a little bit different that you didn't see before. I know I was never a landscape photographer. I'm thinking back to when I shot Olympus, and my wife and I would, every Sunday we would go for a hike. And then I was like, you know what? I want to start taking photos while we hike. And I just started learning more and more about landscape photography. And it was because I got outside my comfort zone that I learned something new, and then I can apply that to all of my photography. And what's really cool is, let's say, you learn a new skill or a new, it could be a new vertical for you for your business. And in the future, it could be profitable. You might start, getting really good at landscapes, and you can start selling them, or, have a, exhibition. I mean, there's a lot of things that you could do with this skill. So there could be profitable for you in the future. If at any time you want any of the resources, just let me know. I'll be able to reach out, talk to Bryan, and see about sending, putting some stuff together. If you need absolutely anything or some notes from, some of the slides that you saw, just reach out, let us know, and we'll be more than happy to help you. Also, this is something new, guys. I know my friend Jim, he hasn't seen this slide before. This is brand new starting this week. We are actually going to start doing a weekly giveaway. So this week's theme is it's photo based, and basically you submit your photo. It's a $50 gift card is what you'll win for Pixel Connection. And all you have to do is post on Instagram or Facebook with the hashtag Pixel Connection and hashtag My World. So that way we know, week by week, which ones you're entering for that. And then I have a tool that'll just basically scan those different hashtags, and then we'll have all of those images. So I urge you, it's $50. So you can spend it on a new filter. You could put it towards, a new camera lens, whatever that is. It's $50. So please, we want to see your photos. And then we're also going to, when you post to that hashtag Pixel Connection, over the next couple weeks, that's what we are going to be showcasing on our Instagram is your work. We want to share what you guys are doing. We're the only reason that we're in business is because of you. So we want to showcase what you guys are shooting, the type of work that you shoot. So that way we can all continue to inspire one another. So without further ado, I've been talking way too much. Let's add in my friend here, Bryan Minear. How we doing, buddy?
What's up, everybody? I'm good, man. How are you?
I am living the dream. I am jonesing. I'm excited to see your face. I know we've talked over the phone a few times over the last couple of weeks, but it's good to see you, man. Good to see you.
Too,
I'm looking down at my computer. I should be looking up at it's good to see you.
Yeah. There we go. Thank you. That was very appreciated.
So I want to catch up a little bit. So in the intro, I was talking about how, you do a little bit of everything, but tell me, what is your full-time job? I kind of teased in the description, that you're an X-Ambassador as well. So tell the audience just a little bit about you. What's going on?
Yeah. Okay. So I am a full-time graphic designer. So thankfully I can work from home through all this, which is a luxury I know not a lot of people have. So my day-to-day is literally dealing with a 3-year-old who is home from daycare because daycare is closed, and working on and off. I try to take frequent breaks with him just because I don't want him, sitting on the TV all day. So we try to get out and shoot. You can actually, if you go to the Fujifilm X US Instagram, a couple, maybe like 4 or 5 days ago, they posted a little vlog style video that's on Instagram TV that me and my son Miles shot with together. And it was just really fun. Got us out of the house, out of the house. That's what we're stuck at home. That's what I titled the video. We're stuck at home right now. So it's just nice to get out. And even before this, an hour ago, we just went and took a little drive down some back roads to just not be stuck in these same 4 walls. So that's it, man. Not a whole lot going on. I get out, shoot as much as I can, and I work and work and work. And I feel like work is extra busy now for some reason.
'Tis the season. So what are we going to talk a little bit about today? What is our topic of discussion?
Yeah, well, I kind of put together 5 landscape photography tips that I thought people would benefit from. I may digress a little bit from that, but I think if anybody has any questions, feel free to throw some questions up as we talk about it. But hi, Sue. Yeah, I thought it'd be cool. And I love how you said it, honestly, in your intro, trying something new. And that's something when I think about landscape photography for me is, I think these big, epic landscapes, mountain scenes, that I don't have that right now. So I'm going a little stir crazy in that I can't get out and travel. I can't get out and shoot and really the way that I want to. So I'm even rethinking all of that. How do I kind of refocus from the macro or the micro, the macro into the micro, and try to look for different things. When me and Miles go on our walks, I always take a camera with me. A lot of times I'm shooting him, and he's kind of become my muse a little bit.
Yeah, and I love if you watch the vlog, it's funny that you show his images too.
Yeah.
Or one of the videos, I'm pretty sure it was the vlog, but it shows his images too. And some of them are actually pretty good. I mean, I'm not going to lie. He does it around, and it's just so, I love it. It's very cool.
It's taken a lot of training to get him to understand how a camera works and everything. But, he'll even take my phone and shoot photos with my phone and stuff, which is cool. He doesn't necessarily shoot with intentionality. I don't think 3-year-old really gets that, but yeah, he's taken some great shots for sure. I just wanted to, I didn't get a camera in my hands until later in life, so I think it's really cool. especially at his age, because you think about, and this is a whole podcast episode in and of itself, but like thinking about how kids are like innately creative from the very beginning.
Right.
And we kind of smash that out of them a little bit. I know we don't really mean to, but you know, everybody just needs to be the workforce soldier. And I think one of the most exciting things about the time that we live in is there's like so many creative jobs, and you could do really anything you want to. You know, when I went to school for graphic design, I honestly didn't know where that was. I didn't know where that was going to go, even for my generation. Like it was kind of, yeah, there weren't a ton of jobs, especially from where I came from in like the middle of nowhere, southeastern Ohio. So yeah, anyway, again, I digress, but I just think it's really cool to be able to get a camera in his hands and like let him express himself this early on.
Yeah, I love it. And then the other projects that you've shared with me that you did, again, like the video stuff is just true inspiration. And
thanks, man.
Keep it up, man. I love it.
Thank you.
I love it. So let's grab in. Let's jump into your, I'm going to add your screen in here.
Yeah. All right. I got to figure out how I'm going to do this. I'm not going to be able to see you, I don't think, if I hit play on this slideshow, but I figured I'd just talk through the slides a little bit.
Sure.
And okay, you see my slideshow, right?
Yep.
I'm not as tech savvy as you are. Yeah. So, okay. So I think when it comes to landscape photography, and again, you're going to see these like big epic mountainscapes and stuff. I didn't have time to put together the things that I'm shooting now. I have a lot of stuff sitting on a memory card I haven't even downloaded from my my camera yet, of like some of the new leaves blooming and flowers blooming and stuff like that I've been shooting. And it's fun, but I think when it comes to landscape photography, there's a few things that really stick out in my mind that maybe people don't think about. And so that's what I want to talk about today. They're not like necessarily the you know, tips and tricks of what to do with your camera, but like more internal things. So for me, composition is like everything. And I think a lot of that has to do, a lot of my like brain for composition comes from the graphic designer in me. I'm always thinking about like layout design and stuff like that. And I think a lot of that transfers over into my photos. So for me, yeah, composition, like, I think if you really ingest like rule of thirds, you know, symmetry, leading lines, golden ratio, like all that stuff, and really kind of just research those, figure out what they mean and why we use them, and just, you know, take an hour and think about all that stuff, and then go out with intentionality to shoot. Here's a rule of third shot, and why does it look, you know, like I think all of that stuff inside of my head now, because I think about it constantly all the time when I put my face up to a camera, it goes off in my head, right? And I don't have to like think, oh, I'm using the rule of thirds right now. It just becomes second nature. So when you start thinking about composition like that, it only helps your photography. Like I know a lot, like Miles, that's a great example. We were talking about Miles, like he has no concept of composition. He just points and clicks, you know what I mean? Right. And you can tell. And I think from when I'm looking at other people's photos, and this isn't like me trying to be a snob or something, but I can look at someone's photo and think, oh man, that's a great shot. But had they moved like just a little bit or cropped in or cropped that one little tiny thing out, you know what I mean? Like it makes all the difference. And I think those are the kinds of things that you need to think about if you want to take, you know, go from just being like kind of a hobbyist shooter to elevate yourself into like, you know, another level of shooting. And I think also with composition, one of the other things that I think a lot about is just simplifying my compositions. A lot of times, you know, here, let me change my slide. A lot of times, like, it can be really easy to just see this big, awesome, epic scene and want to include every element. But I think that takes a lot away from just the emotion that you're trying to evoke in your viewer. And so when you really zero in on, you know, simplifying things and just having clean lines or just one element instead of, you know, focus on one tree instead of like a bunch of trees or whatever it is. And even using focus, you know, using your depth of field to, you know, draw your viewers' attention to one thing as opposed to a lot of things. I think that really, really helps. And a lot of what I do now as a landscape photographer is, you know, we all think wide, and these are wide shots, obviously, but like I use a telephoto lens almost exclusively for the stuff that I shoot, just because that really allows you to nitpick your compositions. With a wide lens, like with this shot, if you look off to the right side, you see those telephone poles, which I ended up not cloning out, but typically I would like clone something like that out. But if I was using, a telephoto lens and I stepped back even further and zoomed in, I could have eliminated those from my composition entirely. So I think, when you're using a wide angle, a lot of times you have to make compromises in, all this stuff is just going to be in my frame, and then you have to try to work around it. So I think when you're using a telephoto lens, that can help a lot. And I think too, a lot of times when I go out now, rather than taking my whole bag, I'll just take one camera, one lens. A lot of times it's been this X100V, which has been amazing for me because you can't change lenses on it. So one camera, one lens, it's fixed. It's like a 35mm equivalent, and it really forces you to just get creative with your compositions. You don't have the ability to zoom in or out, so you got to figure out what you can do with what you're limited to. And I think there's like endless bounds to what that can do with your creativity. So yeah, that's really what I have to say about composition. That was really kind of two tips in one, but yeah.
So I do have a question. So
Okay.
question did come in, and it was, since you're a graphic designer, do you apply the concepts of the color wheel to your landscape photography?
Ooh, that's a really interesting question. That's not something that I think about when I'm shooting, because a lot of times when I'm out shooting, I'm shooting raw. And that's kind of one of my tips later in this discussion is finding your style and kind of figuring out how you want to portray an image. What I love so much about landscape photography is just your ability to, with post-processing, your ability to kind of express yourself. If I'm in a particular, we're all in this uncertainty right now. So a lot of the images that I've been making are, darker, and kind of, you feel that kind of coming out through your work. So I think when I'm shooting raw, a lot of times I'll put my camera in black and white mode, and I'll just look for interesting light patterns, or, play on just shadows where the light's hitting, and eliminate color entirely while I'm shooting, because I know when, it comes to later in post, I'm going to deal with all that stuff. So to kind of, I know that was a little bit of a non-answer. I don't really think about it when I'm shooting, but when it comes to post-processing, I definitely am thinking about, contrasting colors. I love the way, I hate the colors green and blue, oddly enough. So I usually try to make them greens more yellow and blues more teal, desaturated. When I really love reds and oranges and stuff like that. So I'm thinking about, when I have like a really nice sunset that's glowing in orange, I'm thinking, okay, I want my shadows to be blue, because that's going to contrast and create some interest and some dynamic there. Hopefully that answered the question.
Great. Yeah. Thank you. And then Christopher Gilbert says,
Chris doesn't get to ask questions. That's
I don't know if
cheating.
it's a question or a statement. So when you do use a wide angle lens, do you fill up the frame with more of the?
Oh, that's a great thing to talk about, especially when it comes to composition. So when it comes, I talked about simplifying. I talked about, kind of the rules of composition, and just to get them in your brain, so that when you're out shooting, you have the tools to utilize. One of the things, I never shoot from eye level. It's rare when I shoot from eye level. I like almost exclusively shoot like super low to the ground. I love leading lines. If you go to my Instagram page, it's a whole bunch of like single point perspective road shots and stuff like that. I just, there's something about that like just satisfies me to no end. I don't know why people follow me half the time, because it's the same thing over and over again. But yeah, I think Chris raises a good point here. Like, when you're using a wide angle lens to shoot stuff, and you're using that, tilting up and down, you can include more foreground in your image, and that including more foreground by like tilting down to shoot almost always is better than like straight on centered horizon or tilting up. Now, unless you have a incredibly big, like cool cloudy sky or something like that, or trees or whatever, obviously keystoning and tilting up is going to be cool. But yeah, I think including foreground, like I love shooting, and it kind of goes against the traditional rules of landscape photography, you know, shooting like really stop down at like f16, so you have a really nice crispy image, everything's in focus. I love shooting at like with the X100F, I'll shoot at f2 wide open, get real low to the ground. That way you have kind of a nice blurry fall off leading back into your scene, and that's something that I really like to do. So when it comes to composition, play around, like shoot, you know, even sometimes moving just inches to your left and to your right is like makes a huge difference. And I think a lot of times when I'm out shooting with people, they'll kind of find their shot, find their spot, set up, shoot their shot, and they're done. Like I'm exploring, like I'm always looking and tilting and kind of seeing, like, even, you know, think about like a fence post or something, and like just tilting so you get just the right amount of sun popping through. And then you have to make the decision of, am I going to shoot this wider open so you have this nice glowy orb ball, or do I want to stop down to like f16 so I get a sun star? Like you start thinking about all of those things and maybe play around with all of that to figure out how you want to portray this image. Hopefully that answered Chris's question. It wasn't really a question. That was just more an expanding on the statement. Thanks, Chris. That was good stuff.
Got another question coming in. How often do you shoot landscapes freehand versus with a tripod? Mr.
That is great. Yeah, that's a great question. I always have a tripod with me. And I think there's a lot of people that are opposed to a tripod just because, I mean, it's just another thing you have to carry around. And especially today's cameras like the X-T4 that has in-body image stabilization or sensor stabilization. And like, I mean, my buddy Seth K. Hughes, another X photographer, was just shooting. He shared on Twitter the other day this awesome like blue hour shot of a cactus that he handheld at like a second on that thing, like eliminating the need for a tripod in a lot of cases. But I think I shoot with a tripod probably at least 50% of the time, maybe 60% of the time. One thing that I find is that I like to slow down and be more methodical when I shoot, rather than, I used to be like 8 cameras hanging off of me and I'm just shooting everything from every different angle. But I think as I've matured a little bit, like I said earlier with composition, like I look for things, I don't click every shot. I'm being so I think a tripod forces you to, cameras locked off, you get your composition set up, but it also allows you to use ND filters. Like I love shooting long exposure stuff where you're blurring clouds or water or whatever. And I think you don't have those options, even with the most stablest of sensor stabilization. Like you have to have, and then also you have to have a tripod. Sorry, I should finish that thought. But I think also too, I bracket a lot of exposures and combine different parts of an image in Photoshop. And so using a tripod is really the only way that you can do that without having to like align things, and then, you know, you'll get artifacting and whatnot. But I think a tripod is good to have. And if you don't like tripods, chances are you've never had a good tripod, because a good tripod is everything, you know. And you know, I mean, the tripod that I have is, well, I have a couple different ones, but the tripod that I usually carry with me everywhere is really light, and it doesn't, you know, it's great, it's flexible, and I don't have to complain too much about having to carry something else around. Even if I don't use it, it's just always good to have something.
Nice.
Yeah.
Sue has a question too.
Okay.
What is your go-to camera lens setup now?
It kind of changes day to day. Like I said earlier, I've been experimenting because I can't shoot the things that I want to shoot right now because we have no landscape or no mountains here, no rivers close by. And then also we're on the stay-at-home order, so we're pretty limited in where we can go and what we can do. So I've been honestly taking, the X100V has been usually my go-to. That being said, I usually take, it's been between the X100V. If I'm shooting video, I have the X-T4 because I've really been liking the sensor stabilization. Or I do have an X Pro 3 now. I finally replaced my last X-T2 with an X Pro 3. So it's been between those three, really. And the lens that I've had, like I said, I've been shooting my son, so I've been shooting with the 56mm 1.2 on the X Pro 3 when I've been running around shooting him, and that's been really fun. But those are kind of been, I'll just pick one of those setups and take it with me.
Nice. And do you have any, you had talked a little bit about tripods, but do you have any suggestions?
Yeah, for sure. So I have the travel tripod that I have is the Manfrotto 190 Go, the carbon fiber version. And the reason I like it is because it's super small, and I think it folds up. I had what's the Manfrotto, like the travel tripod? What's it called again?
Me photo?
No. The Manfrotto travel. Be Free.
Oh, the Be Free. Right? The Be Free line?
There you go. Yep. I think I had one of those, and the 190 Go is the same size. Like with the head, I think it's a little longer because with the Be Free, it folds down and kind of collapses a little bit more. But the 190 Go is great, and I think it's the X Pro magnesium ball head on it, and it's pretty light. It's lighter than like a not magnesium ball head. But I really like that setup because it allows you to tilt the head to 90 degrees, like I said, so you can get those really low, kick the legs out and get those really low compositions. That's been my go-to because it's so lightweight and really flexible.
Perfect.
Awesome.
No other questions. Let's keep on keeping on.
All right, on to the next tip. So this one's may seem like super. Hold on, I need to kick my. There we go. I don't know how that got in a landscape presentation. So scouting. And I know it's tough right now. Again, like I said, with a lot of people under stay-at-home orders, but I think that a lot of times I will go to a place, 5 to 10 times. Just I find a spot that I really like, and I'll use my app. I love the app Photo Pills. I think it's on iPhone and Android. Photo Pills is great because it allows you to track lighting conditions, the moon, in augmented reality. You can pull your phone out and see a week from now where the sun is going to be at a given time. And so what I like to do is, a lot of times I'll crawl Google Maps just to see if there's an interesting park that I've never been to, or like a feature at a lake. I found a tree. I wish I'd planned this presentation better, but I found a tree that had fallen into the water. And so I went to this park and found this tree that I'd seen on Google Maps. And then, plan for a sunrise because that's the direction at this particular time of year, because that's the direction the sun's going to be coming up from. And so I think, a lot of times we just want to go get our shot and, be done with it. But a lot of the shots that you see that I take around here in Michigan, because again, I don't have like these amazing landscape scenes. I have to really look for the light to be right, or the clouds to be right, or the sun to be in the right position for me to, here's a great example. We have a full moon coming up. I think it's tomorrow is a super moon. And there's the city just south of me has an interesting like water tower thing. So I'm going to go today at some point and I'm going to use Photo Pills to figure out where I need to be and can I get the moon rising and at what time I need to be there to get the moon like popping right behind this water tower. So I think a lot of people think like, and like me, I'm one of those people, like I want instant results. I want to go out and I want to get my shot and be done and edit it and like have this whole process just finished. But like the hunt is where it's at. And I think a lot of times, sitting on a spot because you're waiting for it to be just right or have just the right amount of fog or whatever, that's when you're going to see those like really awesome and super cool results. When it comes to landscape photography, you just have to put in the time and the work to get there. Do we have any more questions? That's kind of the tip there is scout. And like I said, I mentioned Google Maps, Photo Pills, like those are great scouting tools. And then just the weather, figuring out, every morning when I wake up, I look at my weather app to see if it's overcast or if it's not. And if it's not, I'm going out to shoot. And that's kind of another thing, here's a little bonus tip is, when life resumes to normal and we're on our daily routines, like I always have a camera with me because on my way to work, I may stop a couple times if I see something interesting. On my way home from work, I may take the long way home because I want to see if I can shoot something. I think it seems obvious, but putting yourself in the position to where you can take a good photo is like half the battle. And I know I've talked to so many people that are like, that just don't see the benefit of carrying all this gear around, and I understand, like I carry my full kit around with me everywhere because I'm kind of an idiot. But I just want to always be in that position. Today, me and Miles on our drive that I was talking about, we drove by one of the horse farms, and the two horses that are at this particular farm I've shot just so much over the years. I have never seen. Today, they were like playing with each other. And one of them was like rolling around on his back and doing the bronco bucking thing. And I just grabbed my, the X Pro 3 with the 16mm lens. And so I couldn't get close enough, because when you get close to these particular horses, they like just want you to pet them. So I couldn't like observe them in their natural habitat, because I just grabbed a camera and ran out the door. So we just had a cool moment of like watching these horses play with each other like they were little kids. But like, that's an example of, Bryan, you should have had your stupid telephoto lens, because this would have made for an amazing shot. So yeah, there you go. Any other questions before I move on?
It. Yeah, so there was a question. How often do you shoot in black and white or other effects?
Yeah, so I shoot in black and white. I hate assigning a percentage to it, but a lot. I feel like it really helps me to eliminate anything but like color tonality. I think a lot of times when you're shooting in black and white, you can find things that you may miss if you were shooting in color, because you're kind of distracted by color. At least that's how my brain works. I'm not saying it's going to be the same thing forever. Yeah. Yep. But so I think just try it, sometimes, and here's an issue that I've always had is I've kind of been dubbed the color guy. That's always the comment that I hear on social media is, oh, I love the colors. I love the colors, because I do put a lot of work in post-processing, and I just love color so much. But I have like a really, really special place in my heart for black and white. I love shooting film, black and white film on my medium format cameras, and almost exclusively black and white film. But like, I don't share a lot of that stuff. It's kind of just for me. But so when I am shooting black and white, I'm seeing in black and white. Sometimes I'll take the black and white JPEG that I shot, and I'll use that as one of the things I like to do is put a black and white over top of my final processed color image. And in Photoshop, I'll blend it with the color shot. So I'll use either overlay, blending mode, soft light, or luminosity at like 20 or 30%. And it helps to kind of inject some desaturation and black and white contrastiness into a color photo. But it allows me to kind of utilize those black and whites in my color work. So, but I would suggest just trying it, because it's really fun to shoot in black and white. Even if you end up people think I'm stupid because I share all my work is color. So why in the heck would I share or would I shoot in black and white? But I think it really just helps me to see better. Absolutely. And it's just kind of cool. It's fun to shoot in black and white. So
yeah, and you see light like you've never seen it before, because it gets, your brain's not focusing on anything else.
Yep. And especially, when I'm shooting in black and white in my Fuji cameras, I'm usually in Acros, the film simulation, and with a red filter, because that kind of helps the contrast pop even more. Especially for blue skies and stuff, it turns them really dark, and it just gives you this, you don't see that way. So I think it helps to shock your brain into, just looking at a scene entirely differently.
Love it. We did put the link to the app that he brought up, the Photo Pills app. Yes. So that's on Facebook for you. We got a pro tip here. You can't shoot the sunrise at noon. Very good point. You got to get up for it. You got to get up.
That's true.
And then Chris wants to know, is there certain presets that you go to for editing, or do you have your own?
Yes, I do have. I have my own. If you check out my website, which is just bryanminear.com, I have a link to some of my presets that I sell. I'm very close to launching a new pack. I feel like every 6 to 9 months or so, I'm looking at the things that I do with post-processing and trying to like reinvent them so things stay fresh. And I also my style kind of, if you look, over the course of time, like my style has shifted a lot over the years. And so I'm getting ready to launch a new preset pack pretty soon. I don't think I'm going to be able to sell it on my site. I'm doing it in conjunction with another company. But I have Capture One styles because I do use Capture One primarily as my photo editor of choice. And then I also sell some Lightroom and Camera Raw presets on my site. But I would highly recommend, like, I always kind of, in my site says this, but like, I would recommend using presets as like a finding your way, not a one-stop shop, click, done. Like, I really encourage people to find their own style and find their own. And I think presets, the beauty of presets is that you can apply something, see this effect and what is happening, and then you can explore how they got there. And I think that's the real beauty of presets, not a easy button for, you know, editing a photo.
Absolutely. Good tips. Sue wants to know if you have any secret hotspots in Arizona to suggest.
I've only been there once. I told my wife, like, I really want to live in Arizona because they have so much. Sue, I'm going to DM you. I have a friend that just recently moved from Florida to Arizona, and you need to be following him if you want to shoot in Arizona, but he'll probably be able to hook you up with some cool spots. I love Arizona so much. It's so beautiful.
Love it. Cool. That's all the questions, buddy. Let's get back to it.
Okay. What else do I got here? Okay. So this one's kind of weird, a weird one maybe. Where is my, there we go. I got to hit play on this guy. Okay. So emotion. And this one is a weird landscape photography tip, but emotion is everything. I mean, we're like emotional beings. So figuring out how to invoke, I talked earlier in the first tip, like how to evoke an emotional response from the people viewing your photos. Like, that's what you want. I have like an extremely emotional connection to the photos that I take, because I mean, they're part reminders of an experience that I had, but then also it's like the trophy. It's the reason that I do what I do, is like getting to share this cool thing that I took with other people. So figuring out how to kind of unlock that is really key in being a good landscape photographer, because you need to be able to, I mean, I don't make a ton of money from landscape photography. It's kind of really my hobby, my passion. And I honestly kind of keep it that way for a reason, because I don't want it to be spoiled in a way. But I think being a good landscape photographer means like the photos that you post, you're wanting to reach through that device that somebody is looking through and grab them by the hair and like pull their face into your photo. That's basically it. And it's tough to do. It has a lot to do with the way that you edit your photos, and we talked a little bit about that. But everything to do with finding the right shot, using those compositional techniques that you've been studying, and you know, how this particular shot. I don't do focus stacking a lot, but I knew I wanted like every piece, like there's so many layers to the shot, and I wanted everything to be like there and crisp. So I did, I think, maybe 5 different shots of varying levels into the photo, and then stacked them so you have like a sharp front to back, you know, image. And I think the composition here, like the first thing that I want people to, their eye to go back through, is that bridge. But when you start exploring, like you have that hole leading back to a splash, to some more rocks, like there's so much going on. But I think figuring out how to compose, how to do all this stuff really encompasses everything about what you do and leads to that emotion invoking stuff. I love like ambient post rock instrumental type music. I know Chris is on that train too. I listen to that kind of music when I'm shooting, or at least like when I'm driving in between spots, and it really kind of helps put me in that. It's music that makes me, it's like a soundtrack to your life. It makes everything you do feel like it's just completely epic and awesome. And I also listen to that kind of music when I'm editing too, because I feel like it just kind of puts me in that right flow of how I'm doing something. You know, so I think anything you can do, like I go to New York, I go far less now than I used to, but I used to go all the time, and I just got so bored with shooting because you shoot the same thing all the time. So like anytime you can change up, like this shot would have been just your standard shot from, from Brooklyn overlooking at Manhattan. And I just happened to accidentally, my tripod pan wasn't locked off, and I bumped my camera, and like I saw something in the blur, and I was like, ooh, that's really cool. So then I just started playing around, like, with basically what you have to do to get something like this is, I think it was maybe a 2-second exposure or something like that. And you can't move the camera until like the last possible second. You want to burn as much of that image in as possible. And then at the last possible minute, throw a little pan in there. But I think doing something like that, it gives somebody just something new, And so that's something that I'm looking a lot for when I'm trying to invoke some emotional response out of people looking at my photos. So yeah, I think that's it.
And we did have a question come in. What is your favorite medium to print on? Paper, aluminum, acrylic, canvas?
I really like canvas. I don't know why. I think presentationally, canvas is, I don't know. I just love how it kind of pops off the wall. I love the texture to it too. I think that's something in my post-processing that I've been experimenting with a lot more lately is adding grain into my images, or shooting at a higher ISO so I have grain to begin with. And I know it's kind of counterintuitive to everybody wanting like the cleanest image possible. But I don't know, there's something about the textured look to me that can really add to, and I think canvas obviously plays off of that. If I had to pick a second favorite, I think metal. I really like printing on metal.
Huge metal fan.
Yeah, it's really cool, especially the different finishes you can do where, I forget what the one is called, but where they basically don't hit it with white. So the more of the metal color and texture comes through where the whites would be. I love that. I love that so much.
And we have another one. Do you shoot nature and combine that in your landscape shots?
I don't really understand the question.
So nature, I'm gonna say nature like wildlife, or nature like the moon in the shot, maybe.
Yeah, for sure. Yeah, I mean the shot that I don't like. I just actually on Twitter the other day, Petapixel, I think, had shared an article about how to take the best landscape selfies or something like that. They shared a video that somebody did, and I quoted the tweet and said, how to ruin a perfectly good landscape shot. I usually don't like including like people and stuff, unless there are some examples where it could be cool if you're really showing scale or something like that, of a person against something that's really massive. That way you get a sense of scale. But when it comes to like, I love shooting horses, I love shooting deer, animals of all kinds. Like I love that stuff for sure. And yeah, even you're talking about the moon, like I try often, because we don't have the scale here. There's no mountains to do like a moon rising over this crazy awesome peak or something. But we have like, there's a, what do you call it, weather vane windmill type thing that I have that I'll shoot like the moon behind. And, I like doing stuff like that just because it's just fun and challenging and something different, Yeah.
Cool. No more questions.
Cool. Okay, so this is kind of my last tip, and it's a little tongue-in-cheek, but it's true. Straighten your horizons. Like, please, always straighten your photo horizons. Like, we're not Michael Bay here that's shooting at a Dutch angle and like, to create this dynamic feeling. I think there's so many times where I'm like flipping through Instagram or Facebook or something, and I see somebody shot. I'm like, oh, and then I'm like, oh, come on. Like it's so easy to do. And I may be sounding like a total snob here, but I think, again, we're talking about what can help you, like tips that can help you become a better landscape photographer. So a lot of my audience is, because of being an ambassador for Fujifilm and some other brands, like a lot of my audience is other photographers and obviously other landscape photographers. So I hope that if I were ever to post something where the horizon was slightly crooked, or even, I mean, we're talking really small details here, but like centering things, you know, cropping just slightly so that something you're the subject of your scene is dead center in your image. I can't tell you how many times I've gotten to the post on the Instagram page and I'm like, and I pull it up in like my app to crop and look, and it's slightly off. Just those little things. I think just being aware and having that pride in what you're shooting to give it those final touches, that's what elevates you. And I would just hope that, you know, other people have that same pride in their work and want to deliver it to people in the best possible way they can. And so I think, yeah, straightening your horizon is a big one, but it kind of is representative of just like really putting yourself into your work and having, you know, being proud of the stuff that you're sharing and really taking the extra steps to make the presentation. You know, you got to think, if you were printing something and putting it up in a gallery, you better believe that you're going to want to see test prints of how it's the paper that it's going to be on. Right. So, you know, we can't, obviously, the thing that I hate the most on phones now is the night mode and stuff like that, because a lot of times, you know, if people are scrolling Instagram with night mode on, everything is so much warmer. And I can't tell you how many shots of mine, like if you look at the shot, I have it turned off on my phone. I have True Tone turned off too, just because I feel like it just messes with my eyes. And I want to see, I mean, I'm looking at art all day and I want to see like the truest representation that people wanted me to see of that, not like through some filter of warm or cool colors.
Right.
Yeah.
So do you feel like we need to start putting like a True Tone or a night mode version of the photo? Like swipe over if you're in
swipe over if you're in night mode. No, I have on Instagram, I have instructed people, if you're looking at this, I think I captioned a photo one time, if you're looking at this with night mode on, you are looking at a very, I don't remember how I worded it, but it was basically that, like turn night mode off to see the real, what you're supposed to be seeing. Yeah.
I love it. So let's open it up for some questions. I believe you said that was my last tip. What other questions do we have, guys? What do you have before we sign off and go eat some lunch? What do you guys got?
Lunch sounds good. We could do a live poll on what I should eat for lunch.
There you go.
It's probably
something healthy. I'm doing Whole30 right now.
Man.
So
I really need to there's a question. I really need to get back on some sort of diet because this whole thing has me just way out of whack.
Back on keto. The question is, when posting to Instagram, do you keep a 2/3 ratio or 2:3, or do you go with a 1:1?
I typically, Instagram kind of, for better for worse, made me I tend to shoot everything vertically. Nowadays, if I find like a scene that I really like, I'll shoot it in both. Vertical and landscape, just so I have it, because typically when I'm printing, I want to print landscape, or if I want to show it on my website, I want to show it in landscape. But for Instagram, Twitter's become more where I want to be lately than Instagram, but Instagram's still kind of my living portfolio. I crop things usually to 4:5, which is the vertical format. Sometimes if I have a landscape shot that I didn't shoot, and the only thing, I have no qualms with posting like the landscape. It's so small, and I feel like Instagram compresses your images so much anyway that when you post a 2:3 landscape shot, they give you so much more real estate, and it just doesn't look as good. So I try to shy away from that. I don't post a lot of square, like. Most of the time I crop everything to 4:5 vertical, just because, or 5:4 vertical, just because it gives you so much more real estate to see the image there.
Excellent. Let's see what comes in for your lunch vote. We have a pizza from Sue.
Sue knows me very well.
Chris says sushi.
Sushi sounds good too. I wish I had a place I could get sushi from close by.
He wants you to go on a full sushi diet. That's the suggestion.
Well, I only eat vegetarian sushi because I am allergic to seafood. So I could do that, though. That's rice. Rice isn't that great for you. So I don't think I could do an all sushi diet.
No, not trained. And then we did have a question. Circular NDs or drop-in NDs?
I'm a drop-in ND guy. That being said, I do have one fader circular, which, you know, if you are on a budget, that can be great. I use it for video stuff when I don't shoot a ton of video, but when I am, it's nice to have. Drop-ins I love because they're super flexible. You know, and there's a lot more that you can do with them. Every time that I've ever, and given when I use circular NDs, I didn't use like really high end because I was on a budget NDs, but I feel like every time I went to stack different NDs on top of each other, you ended up getting more vignetting, like way more vignetting on your images, and it didn't give a good look. But with drop-in filters, especially on my Fujifilm lenses, like a lot of the times the lenses that I'm shooting are like 67, 72 millimeter filter threads, and I'm using 100 millimeter filters on these lenses. And so I stack, you know, sometimes I have a 10 stop, a 4 stop, and a 3 stop, like solid NDs. And sometimes I'll stack all 3 if I really want to go gung ho, and, you know, you don't get vignetting because the filters are really high quality. But a lot of times I'm shooting with 2 or 3 filters at a time. And then also the drop-in filters allow you to have, the Nissi filters that I have allow you to screw in a polarizer even into the filter holder. So you can have four filters stacked on top of each other, which is just super flexible. And I think when I'm shooting with NDs, which isn't a ton, but when I'm shooting with NDs, I want the flexibility to be able to go, you know, because and this is a whole other TED talk here, but you know, a lot of times when you're shooting, NDs are best for shooting like long exposures during the day. You're basically putting sunglasses on your camera so you can extend the shutter speeds. But I have a presentation, and maybe we can do this again later, TJ, on just how to use ND filters to maximize. It's so dependent on how fast the wind is going, which direction it's blowing, all that stuff. And a lot of times, you know, just a change of 10 seconds to 40 seconds can make all the difference for getting the look that you're going for, and being able to, you know, pull out a 3 stop, drop in this. And it's so much more flexible than circular would be.
Yeah, I'm on that same train. Definitely the square filters for me made the heck of a difference. I mean, then you're not like, I just feel like you're carrying so much stuff with the round or the circular. Yeah. And I just have my little case that has everything in there. I pop it open, and it even has like a belt holder where I can like go through my filters when I'm standing there. I mean, it's just, to me, it's a lot more convenient. Yep.
Right there. All of it. All my NDs and filter holder are just right in one nice little bag. Yeah.
Makes life easy. I don't know if mine's that close. Oh, mine is that close. Look at that. So I got the Benro.
Yeah, your case is a lot nicer. Mine's custom made, one of a kind, but your case is definitely nicer.
And it has the belt on it too, so like I can actually like have it there if I need to add stuff. And
yeah, I usually loop mine onto my tripod, but yeah, I have the belt connection too. That's super nice to just attach this to my bag. Or yeah, belt's nice because you can literally have it right there.
It's like my little fanny pack.
Yep.
Filterfannypack.com. New idea. So we do have another question here. Do you prefer a certain brand of filters?
I've been using Nissi filters. Primarily, I jumped around a bit. I used Lee for a while, and Lee are like the most expensive and seem like what everybody uses, but like they gave me, and they may have fixed this by now, but they gave me like a super blue magenta color cast. And then they broke on me really. I break stuff all the time, constantly. But they broke really easily. And then I went to Format High Tech, which were nice, but I didn't like their filter holder. It just wasn't as flexible as the Nissi filter holder. So those are the filters that I would recommend.
Not talking about like this. You're talking
sorry. Talking about this guy, the actual thing that holds the filters. Oops, I dropped the middle piece. But on the Format filter holder, I'm trying to think of what it was that I didn't like about it. It's been so long now, I can't even remember. Oh no, I know what it was. They had and this is probably a pretty standard thing, but like this little guy lets me pull the holder off of my lens so that you're not like dropping filters on your camera on the tripod. I can do it all here and then safely attach this. But one of the things that I do a lot when I'm shooting with ND filters is I will take a bracketed exposure of my scene without a filter. That way I have like a nice crispy shot of everything. And then I'll put the filter holder on, because more often than not, I don't want like a ton of blurring in the trees or whatever. Sometimes that works for the shot, but I like to have a nice crispy shot of what I'm shooting, and then maybe I'll paint in the blur of the sky or whatever it is. But anyway, this allows you to take it on and off, whereas the Format High Tech, I don't think they had like a spring-loaded thing, and I had to unscrew the whole thing off of my lens to take it on and off, and it was super annoying. So
another question, what would you recommend for a starting setup for filters?
Yeah, so I think the kit that I got from Nissi is I think it's the standard kit, and then I added on top of that. I think a 10 stop is a must if you want to shoot longer exposures. 10 stop's a great place to start. And then I added, I think their standard kit comes with a 10 and a 4, I believe, and then the polarizer. I don't use the polarizer a lot. Really, the only thing I use a polarizer for is reflections on water, to reduce or give more. I don't really use it for blue in the sky and stuff, because you could do all that in post. But what was I saying? I lost my train of thought.
Starter.
Starter. 10 stop definitely, and maybe another like a 4 or 3, especially if you're going to do now. Okay, let me do this. If you're just getting into ND filters, just find a screw-in 10 stop, and that'll be your starting point, right? And then you can decide from there, is it a route you want to, is it like the rabbit hole you want to go further down, where you invest more in like a filter holder with a set? If you get to that point, then I would say a 10 stop, and then either a 4 or a 3, and then a graduated filter. I have this guy, which is a 3-stop grad, which you can see on my face. Down here is nothing, and then up here is 3 stops of density. This is obviously for bringing down the exposure just in the sky. Now this, obviously, you can replicate in post with a graduated filter, but when you start adding motion blur and stuff in there, that's when this becomes very helpful. When you have, like 14 stops of ND for a 3-minute exposure or something, and you want the foregrounds, it just makes for less work in post, basically. So I would suggest that, like a 10 stop, a 3 or a 4, either or, and then like a 3-stop grad, because that really would give you the flexibility of shooting with a 10 stop, you're still going to have to be at like f22 most of the time if you want to shoot longer exposures during the day. And then you're probably going to max out, depending on how bright it is, you're probably going to max out at like 30-ish seconds is all you're going to be able to do. So that's when adding the 4-stop on top of that, all of a sudden you can go up to a minute or something. So it just gives you or like me, I always have a filthy sensor. And so instead of having to go in and clone dots everywhere because I'm shooting at f22, having that extra filter or extra 4-stop on there allows me to drop down to like f16. So then I have less sensor spots and dust and stuff.
I'm on that same train. I was going through photos yesterday. I'm like, why didn't I just shoot this at the lower? And yeah, definitely there with you. Definitely there with you. And if you're like that out there, we do sensor cleaning. So let us know. We can help you out at the store. So is there a big difference between glass and resin filters?
There is. Resin, again, if you're wanting to get it into well, I would still refer to get a 10-stop screw in, play with that, make sure it's the route you want to go before you go any higher. But if budget is a real concern, I had Format High Tech resin filters, and the biggest difference is just quality. I don't even like using UV filters because I don't like adding more glass onto the end of my glass. ND filters, you have to get the effect. So with glass NDs, especially these Format High Techs, the coatings that they use to get the density can add a color cast. So resin, I think you'll end up with a little more color cast because they're lower quality coatings. And also just they're basically plastic, it's like polished plastic. So like you don't get the crisp sharpness that you get with a glass filter. On the other side, they don't break as easily. So, I guess you just kind of have to make a judgment call there.
Awesome. Well, thank you so much for joining us. I do have a couple other things to share with you guys. Bryan, even though it's not announced, this is breaking news to just you guys. Bryan will be coming out and hanging out with us in Cleveland in August. Right now, the conference is still full go. Obviously, we are going to, and we have been monitoring closures and things like that. But we are hopeful that in August, we will have Pixel Photo Fest. And for anybody on the webinar today, these are the keynote speakers, if you haven't seen these before. So, Vanessa Joy's the keynote speaker, and then Aaron, Jeff, Isaac, Jen, and Travis. That's who we've announced so far. And then in a couple days, we're going to be announcing the rest of the next 5 speakers. And Bryan is one of those. He came last year and everybody loved him. We got to have him back. Got to have him back.
Was awesome.
Another thing too, you can use the code lunch and learn, all caps, to save $100 on your admission to PhotoFest. And that is only for people that are on this, on the actual live stream. This isn't something that we are like sending out in emails or anything like that. It's for you guys to save 100 bones. Another thing, if you need some additional help, we are doing virtual one-on-ones. So if you want, to sit down and talk about ND filters or, certain tripods, anything like that, or if you want to learn things about your camera that you really haven't had the time to do, we are setting up virtual one-on-one classes. So if that is something you're interested in, you can reach out to me. You can send us a message through Facebook, and we'll get you the link for that. And we can get you signed up for that. Coming up this week, we have William Innes. Then we have Jeff Carpenter on Wednesday. And then Thursday, we might have Eric from ProPhoto, but we might be kind of switching some stuff around. And then on Friday will be my Friday focus, where I talk about the weeks, kind of what went on this week in the photographic industry. And then remember, practice makes perfect, guys. If you need absolutely anything, we are here to help you. Don't forget about the contest. And if you have any suggestions for me for a live stream, please let me know. Let me see what we got here. A couple last minute questions coming in. Thank you. Very informative. So
you're very welcome.
Will there be any food photography classes at PhotoFest this year? There is a local guy. We might reach out to him. Thank you for letting us know that you're interested in that. I know I'm interested in that. I'm restarting my fitness blog. So I've been reading tutorials and starting to set up the kitchen. My wife loves it, I promise, because I want to learn more about food photography. So we'll see if we can find something. That'd be awesome. Yes. So at the store, they said it was requested by a few people. We're working on it for sure. So thank you guys all so much for watching, and thank you for joining us today. If you guys need, absolutely feel free to reach out. Thanks again, Bryan. We'll talk soon.
See you, dude. Thanks.